Jeez! Welcome back to For the Love of Life podcast. Today was my first recorded in-person episode with a friend and training partner, Alex Rousey. He's a tattoo artist. Obviously, he does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like I just mentioned. His son actually trains as well. He's in my class. I get to teach him, which is really exciting. In this episode, we talk about Alex's path kind of from anarchist to artist and mindset, how his life changed from becoming a father, and also his more recent spiritual shift in his relationship with God. And it's passionate and inspiring, and I always love that kind of thing, and I'm excited to get to share it with you. So here it is, Alex Rousey.
That's the laugh from your intro.
I know, because it's...
I like that, because it's your real laugh.
It's a real laugh. Yeah. So, where do we begin?
Well, I'll probably start off by just maybe you want to know a little bit about my background and everything, right? Okay.
Take it away.
So I was born in the States, but I grew up here in Maple Ridge, BC, Canada. And growing up, my childhood, like I have a good mom, a good dad, my siblings are awesome. But I had a lot of problems, they said I had ADD, ODD, all these issues, right?
What's ODD?
Oppositional defiance disorder.
I don't know anything about that.
It means I always go against the opposition.
Just every time.
Everyone's my enemy.
Oh, right.
Whatever you say, I'm going to be, like being a contrarian. Anyway, so they said I had all these things, right? I wasn't diagnosed, but... So, good family, good place, and I had good friends and stuff, but I had a lot of issues in the home. I was the source of a lot of these issues, and a little bit crazy, right? So my parents had a tough time with that, but we had a good life, like played a lot of sports, and we went fishing and camping, and it was awesome, right? And then I got a little bit older, 14, 15, started to do, I always was into art, always was into doodling. All my work, all my school work, everything. I would finish writing my notes and then boom, just like doodle. Then I got into graffiti. So I met this guy, he was a year older, and he started getting me into it. Then I just became obsessed. I'm just graffitiing fences and cube trucks and buildings, right? Getting on rooftops and doing my thing. And then I got caught. So I got pulled into the office at school because I was writing things in the washroom.
Did you graffiti on your own every time, or did you travel as a pack?
I didn't have a huge pack. I had a few people, but then I would sneak out in the middle of the night and I would graffiti. Right, so that's why I can grind so hard with no sleep, because I would go to sleep, wake up in the middle of the night, do graffiti, wake up, do my practice, do my sports, do school, and just grind the whole day. So that actually helped me later in life. Quinn was my wife Quinn, she's like, are you affected by this time change? We just had it, right? A month ago. And I'm like, 1 hour time change? Definitely not. So that's why. Yeah. I'm just whatever, I don't care about sleep, whatever. If I need it, I'll get it. Anyway, so I would sneak out and I would do all this graffiti and do all that. But then I got pulled in the office. Cop was there already.
What grade is this?
I had all my tags. This is I think grade 11.
Okay.
And I had all my tags all over my binder. So I was kind of caught red-handed.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I just admitted to being this tagger guy. And then this was a big deal. So at school, big deal. Obviously got suspended and all that. Cops had a huge file on me, a big stack. And they were recording all my tags and stuff. So my parents obviously were pissed, and I could have, so there was a lot of lawyer fees. There was a lot of fines and different things that I'd have to pay for. Cleaning up this cube truck. Painting over this. You got to pay for that. So my parents thought they might even lose the house from having to pay all this money for what I did. So this was a crazy time. And my parents did really support me with the art. They sent me to an art camp one time. My dad, we had this shed we built in the back, and he let me graffiti the back of it, right? So they probably felt like maybe it was their fault a little bit, or I don't really know. But this was a stressful time. This was a bad time. But I got actually put into a youth diversion program, which is no jail time, no record. But I do a little bit of community service, and I go check in with a counselor guy.
You're still living at home though, or is this one where it's...
This is I'm grade 11.
Okay.
Yeah,
but they don't take
11.
you away and like send you to a camp where you're...
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. But you had to get a lawyer. We had to fight for this. I had to be cooperational. I had to make sure that I was a nice kid, right? So like they could tell I was a nice kid, and I just did some graffiti, right? It's not like I killed anybody, so I got in this program. My guy that I had to check in with, my mentor, he's Gordy Robson. He's the old mayor of Ridge, and he's kind of reminds me of my old basketball coach, Dockendorf, just like kind of like a hardcore straight edge kind of guy. And I remember when I was in his office, he's like, "Oh yeah," looking out the window. He's like, "See that kid with a skateboard? That's a kid with a problem." And so he's just like old school, right?
Yeah.
And now skateboarding's in the Olympics. And, graffiti artists design, do the design for Gucci stores and for all this clothing and for these shoes and for everything, right? It used to be just trash. Like graffiti's trash.
Yeah.
It's vandalism.
You're a vandal. You're
So,
a criminal.
Obviously I shouldn't have been doing graffiti on someone's business who they own it and they're trying to feed their family and do all that. And so that was just a rough time. So that's that. For that chapter.
What did it do for you? Like, what was that? It was obviously fulfilling some kind of need. Like, you woke up and you were like, need to go do graffiti. So, like, what?
Well, number one, I'm a risk taker.
Okay.
Right?
So, there's a rush.
That's why I love doing jiu-jitsu. That's why I love cold dips. That's why I started tattooing in my basement. This is when tattoo shows... So I started when I was 19. Now I'm 34. This is back when Kat Von D was kind of getting big.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And tattoo shows were coming out. This is just like a couple seasons in. And tattooing, you had to be a little bit hardcore, right? Because you're tattooing a lot of hardcore people. Tattooing used to be classified, even in Pitt Meadows, like an undesirable business. So a bar, a strip club, a pawn shop, a tattoo shop, just shady. And it was, because a lot of shady people would get tattoos. Not all. A lot of gang members, bikers, people like this, right? Like drug addict, just hardcore people.
Yeah.
And so I definitely loved the rush of it. I wanted to get my stuff out there, right? I'm not having a business yet, but I knew I wanted to promote myself. I knew I wanted to do it. It was kind of fun. It's fun to break the rules, right? And that is what I did.
All right. You mentioned, I think yesterday or something, we were talking about how you told the story of how you went from graffiti in your school to being invited back to paint or do a mural there. Mm-hmm. You want to like revisit that? How'd that happen?
Well, so in 19, I started tattooing my friends in my parents' basement, and then I started to do more murals and stuff like that. Oh, let's rewind. So after everyone was really, so after I got caught, I did my time and I came back to Ridge. I was in this program with Mr. Minor, and it was kind of for the bad kids, right? So I got to go, I forget what it's called, Journey. Yeah, Journey, and it was in the portables, and you're not supposed to go in the school, right? Stay in the portable. Anyway, so I did that little program for my last 6 months of grade 12. And I was able to do some murals so Kara Cridland, we had this respect fair at like Planet Ice, like the fairgrounds, and then we had a few events where like anti-drinking and driving in our school. So I did some murals for that, and then I got to paint the Ram Shop. That was our little, convenience little thing at the calf, right? You buy candy and stuff. So I painted that. We had a place like that by the gym called the Shack. You get chips and pop, and so I painted that thing that that comes down like, and so, I did all that, and so I did some schoolwork, but I did a lot of art too. This is when I was like 17.
Journey, that's like an alternative program?
Yeah, just for the bad kids.
Yeah, I went to one of those
too.
For
the smokers, for the graffiti kids, for that, right?
I went to one of those too, but I wasn't a bad kid. I got bullied a lot in school, and then just didn't find the teachers to be helpful. I basically just went there to escape like the mean people at high school, but then I felt like kind of a badass because everyone that was around me was, they were like, 17, 18-year-olds who were recovering from narcotics, or, criminals or whatever, got into some sort of like actual bad stuff. So that was kind of fun. But the teachers there at my school, we called them by their first names. Did you guys do that? Or it was still formal? You called them by like Mr. and Mrs.?
No, we called him Mr. Minor. I actually tattooed him. He was really cool. Like he showed us like hip hop music, and he did graffiti back in Toronto back in the day.
Yeah.
I think his first name's Kieran. But I think some people might have done that.
You tattooed your teacher?
There was like teen moms in there and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tattooed a couple former teachers, coaches, and other people, other teachers that are at other schools and stuff, right?
Yeah. But the teachers that you tattooed that were yours, were they all from Journey, or were some of them from your...
Well, it was Coach Kate. She was like a basketball camp. Like, she wasn't my teacher, but she like really was involved with the basketball program. And then so tattooed her, and then tattooed Mr. Minor. And these two people, that was early on. That was only a couple of years in.
Damn.
Yeah.
When you first started, did you get a tattoo gun, or was it like stick and poke, or?
So my so when I was 17, after I graduated, I started painting houses. So just like normal inside house painting. And then with my checks, I would go get tattoos. And my very first tattoo was on my forearm here. It says cursed one way and like blessed the other way, with just these two heads, these two girls with the hair. So cursed and blessed. And that was something my dad kind of talked to me about, God's gift of my kind of artistic gift. And if you use it for something bad, then that is a curse, or it could be a blessing, right? So I started painting houses with my paychecks, got all these tattoos. This girl I was with at her time, her dad was actually, he's awesome. So he's a super smart guy. He like plays guitar. He's a black belt. He is a firefighter. He can do all this stuff, dog trainer. And then he started tattooing, and he's just tattooing his buddies and kind of learning it. And he helped me get a bunch of equipment. His name's Jeff Snyder. He's awesome. Now he does like carving wood and makes leather straps and leather and so he's always doing something. So he helped me out. And then I had to go to a warehouse, buy the machine. And then there was no, like these days, like now, my machine is wireless. I have all these click-in, the tattoo machines now looks like Elon Musk have designed them, right? But back in the day, they're metal. You have to tune them, right? It's like way more complicated. And there was no online courses you could do or anything. So I just had to find my way through it. And that's how I kind of did that.
Just self-taught.
So self-taught for like about a year. Just like you're young, right? So there's people that are a couple years younger and a couple years old. Everyone's kind of just wasting their money and getting tattooed for cheap and just kind of whatever, like just doing it.
Did you have any of those synthetic hand skins to work on?
No, that didn't even exist back then. You had like this rubber kind of piece of paper, like a beige piece of paper, and that was kind of it.
And then it's just bodies, just real human
just bodies, yeah. I started tattooing my buddy Joms like 3 days in a row, like in my basement on the floor at his house, on his kitchen table. I just started tattooing people. People already knew me for I did these murals, did these graffiti. Everyone already knew that I was this art guy. So everyone's like, oh, cool. Yeah, like I'm gonna get tattooed by him. Like that's the guy.
Was it pretty easy to like replicate your style on skin compared to like when you're doing it on a paper or?
Well, it's really difficult when you don't really know what you're doing, right? So, did the best I could on my own, and then before I got too much on my own, which was good, just enough, I got into Defiance Body Studio. And so Quinn worked there, and my buddy Naylor and Sean, he was kind of my mentor. He helped me out a bit, and he helped me out just enough. And then a lot of stuff, I'm asking questions. I'm going to tattoo conventions. I'm reading books. I'm doing as much as I can, even as far as like organizational, like getting the computer, getting the color coded schedule down, and just like business stuff too, like you can get lessons from a realtor about dealing with people and selling stuff and doing stuff. Right. You can get lessons from a plumber. So when I tattoo these people, I'm asking them questions, right? These people must think that my brain is just empty and I just need to fill it because I'm just asking so many questions, right?
Yeah. Cool. I had that kind of something similar when I was working as a hairstylist for a while. Is that you have all these people from different walks of life coming in and sitting in your chair, and you kind of have to, one, in order to do a good job, you need to connect with them as quickly as possible. But also because their lifestyles are also different from yours, there's so much that you can learn from each of them. And then they're stuck in your chair for how long when you do a session? Like a minimum an hour or?
Yeah, back in the day, a little bit shorter, but you're setting up. I'm talking to the person too. I really like to talk to them beforehand and then just get it all out. And then when we start tattooing, maybe a bit more quiet. Maybe it keeps going. But nowadays, I'm doing like 3, 4, 5 hours, like maybe longer, double days.
You're like really getting to know this person.
For sure.
Nice.
For sure. It's
That's
like,
cool.
It's like I'm a podcaster with all the best podcasts that you'll never hear.
Yeah, so your
right?
podcast. Yeah, and like free study, or they pay you really for you to learn from them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I always love to ask people. So I have this program where, like the fast track program. So you pay more money, but you get in quicker, right? So who has money and time and values time? Who would that be? That'd be people that have their own business, entrepreneurs, people that are high level. So then once I did that, and that's a system that's just from just business, right? This, you can, if you fly a plane, you can get first class or this, right? And it is very limited, right? And so I have to turn people away from that too. But then you get these high quality people in, and I just can pick their brain.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's cool. When did that shift happen from, because you're always very active, obviously, getting up in the middle of the night to do graffiti, like you had this like desire that you needed to act on to express yourself creatively as an artist, but then did it shift into having like a business mindset and the grind because of your like teen program, or at what stage did you decide to get serious about like making a career out of your art?
Well, as soon as I got into Defiance, when I was 20.
Right. Defiance was the program?
Defiance was the first tattoo shop that I worked at
shop
in Ridge. So when I got into Defiance, it was like they did nails. Kate worked there for a bit and did hair, and it was more like a spa type piercing place.
Yeah.
And then you got me, Justin Naylor. He has his own shop now, Golden Rose. Sean. And then so it just became more masculine. Me and Sean are putting all our art on the wall. We're not doing hair anymore. And it just became more, they still did nails, but it became more of like a real tattoo shop.
Yeah, and you're suddenly surrounded by professionals and people who are moving in that kind of direction. So that must have been a big shift.
Yeah, I mean professional in the sense that it's a tattoo shop. I mean, it's not like we're accountants.
Yeah.
Like if you're at a medical place or an accounting firm or working at ICBC, like you're really around professionals. But compared to tattooing in your house and going to an actual shop, yeah, you're around professionals, right? So we weren't like super professional though.
Of course, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're still a tattoo shop.
Yeah, we're still hanging out. We're still having a good time. What I always say is like, okay, I try to be with my tattoo business. Okay, I want to be like a cool dentist. I want to be not so professional, like a medical dentist, and not so cool, like whatever, it's not a big deal and I'm late and I'm not organized. I like to be in the middle.
That's a good philosophy just for life in general, you know, find that balance, that happy medium, that place in between blessed and cursed.
Yeah.
You know, like teetering on
Exactly,
the edge.
yeah.
I really like that your dad introduced you to that kind of idea from a young age, like understanding that there's these two polarizing sides to things, but it all exists like within this whole thing. It really is all one. You can kind of choose which side you want to take things.
Yeah, be a cool dentist. And so what's cool about the tattoo is that my dad, when he really had this moment, and we just talked about this, he had this moment where he was just filled with so much fatherly like joy, and because he's like, you know what, you never listened to anything that I said, and I was like, that is true, but some stuff I did, and he was just loving it and filled with joy. And I was 17 when I got this, and you got to be 18. If you're 17, you need parental consent. They got to sign. So I met this guy on the bus. This guy just got out of jail, and he does tattoos on 17-year-olds. And I was like, perfect. So I told my parents, I was like, yeah, I don't need you to sign. It's all good. I figured it out. Met this guy on the bus. And then, and they're like, hey, whoa. And then my mom was like, okay, you need to go. Then it went from not signing for you to like, hey, you need to like go to the Dutchman. You need to go to the best place. And because they knew like, I probably would do it. And then so my dad and his buddy took me down there. I went to Adrenaline, got tatted, and you know, it was a good time.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you, so when you said like your dad said you don't listen to anything that I say, I feel like I had a similar experience with my mom. She would always give me advice as a teenager, and I'd be like, ugh, you know, like you don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to take that advice. But then after I lived my own experience and like experienced my own suffering, and then I would reflect back on her words, and I'd be like, oh, that was really good advice. But I couldn't apply it because I needed to make my own mistakes. I needed to go through the experience. Like if you just go by other people's word and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna not do that thing because they said not to do it, you don't have the opportunity to actually like learn truly. So I don't know, did you have things like that where you would make your own mistakes or like experience some kind of suffering and then recall something that your dad had said and you're like, oh damn, he really knew what he was talking about?
Yeah, like I made so many mistakes. Like, so many mistakes. Like I've spelled tattoos wrong.
Oh, yikes.
Right? Like
yeah.
I've been in the drunk tank. I've been, you know, like a lot of mistakes, tons of mistakes. Now I am a father, right? So now I'm in a totally different zone. So I'm always making mistakes.
Yeah, I want to know what kind of, how your perspective about life changed when you became a dad. Did it happen like as soon as Quinn got pregnant, or is it like as baby's born, or like?
So the fact that me and Quinn are even together is actually insane.
Okay.
So if you were working at Defiance and you heard that we're together, you'd be like, whoa.
What did she do?
You have to be like, okay, like give me a second. You have to leave and just have a walk and be like, okay, is this real? And so that was that's a whole nother podcast. And we get together and then we leave Defiance. We start our own spot in Pitt Meadows, right? And there's a bunch of other stuff that happened with that.
What's her thing? What does she do?
She did nails.
Okay.
Nails and waxing.
Nice.
Yeah, and pedicures.
Okay.
And so then that was a whole thing. What's the question? What am I getting at?
Oh, when you had your baby. Being
okay.
a dad.
Yes, that.
How your life changed. Just a little one.
So, yeah, we get together.
Yeah.
And then it was New Year's, I think. And just after New Year's. But Quinn comes up to me and she's like, I'm laying in the bed. She's like, hey, like I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess that's what we're doing now.
How long were you together for prior to this?
Maybe like 3-4 years.
Okay. So it's like.
And then I was really excited and I was ready and I was like, okay, got to get it out of this crappy apartment. We were behind Shinobi Sushi in this apartment. We had a beautiful view of their dumpster and then our dumpster and power lines.
Yeah.
And there was human feces on the ground from these homeless people. And I was like, I got to get out of here. The lady that lived underneath me, it was crazy. So I was like, okay, I need to, and I've always paid my rent, always been a good tenant, but I've always had to move just for whatever reason. Like, oh, nothing to do with me. And that's just, and I'm like, okay, I need to get a place. Anyway, start to get organized, start to be way more disciplined. And then I go to Bank of Montreal I'm like, okay, I'm going to start an RESP, educational savings plan, right? So I go there, I go, hey, want to start this plan? Okay, good job. How old is your kid? And I go, well, he's not born yet. So I'm like, okay, come back when he's born. So that's just to tell the story of how excited I was. I'm like starting the savings plan before he's even born. And then baby comes out. That's amazing. This is pre-COVID, right? Like I really feel for everyone that had to have babies, like with the masks and everything. Like for me, it was just so amazing. Everyone's so nice. People can walk and see, and family. It was awesome. But this is what, when you have a kid, this is what happened for me. It was like, okay, life just got serious.
Yeah.
Like, okay, everything I do is very serious. Every time I'm driving and like I have to stop suddenly, like I better be focused. You know, I stopped smoking weed. I didn't smoke that much weed, but then I was just like, okay, the baby come out. I don't want to be high tonight. I don't want to be high today. I don't want to be high. I gotta, if I get a call, I gotta do something. I gotta need to be on point. So start to be very intentional.
Yeah, that recklessness died down.
Yeah, I always partied pretty hard, and I'm a social guy and I had fun. Never got into the like any hard drugs, but I would be up late, and even if people are doing that around me, like I wasn't really into it. But I would, you know, I'd pick people up, right, and spin them around and just have my arm around and be like, just kind of rowdy like that. Like Rowdy Rousey.
Rowdy Rousey, of course.
Yeah.
That's the perfect name.
Like Quinn will be at the bar. She's talking to some guy. I don't know. It's some guy, old friend from high school. I just go over. I just pick her up and bring her back to my table. Stuff like that, right? Like,
yeah.
So I really started to be intentional. Like, okay, I need to be. I was like, I need to be intentional with how I'm working, how I'm sleeping. I need to get a place. I need to buy a place in a nice area. So a townhouse. I grew up in a townhouse, and well, for my first half, where kids are playing hockey, we're playing basketball close to the school. So, and I'd love to have a bigger house for sure. But where I live is awesome. There's kids around. There's parks around. You can bike around there. It's an amazing little community, and so that's what I was gunning towards. So I got filled with the extra energy. I got supercharged.
And all of it is like stemming from the sense of purpose and desire to provide for your family.
Yeah, and I got the townhouse, and then I was like, okay, now we need a better car. So I worked hard, and I bought that Jeep that I have. I bought that for Quinn, and I gave it to her on Christmas with like a bow. I got it like come in, and that, like, I was working towards that. Okay, got the house. Because you don't want to buy a new car until you get a house. You get the house first, and you get the car, right?
Damn,
you don't want to have any, because you don't want any payments,
right?
And you don't want that to go to your credit score. Like you get less,
right?
So you definitely don't want any car payments, or else it's gonna be hard to get your mortgage harder, right? You want no debt, you want no credit card, no car debt, no nothing, right?
Right.
And then so I did that, and that felt really good, and. You know, Quinn's always got the better phone. She's always got the better car. She always gets the thing first, better computer first. And, you know, I always have the crappy phone and the crappier car and all that. And that's what I like to do.
Cool. Were you saving for a house, like, from a young age? Were you, like, prepared to buy a home? Was that something on your radar? Or were you just working and, I don't know?
No, but when I had Jules, I was like 26, 27, right? So that's pretty young, I guess. No, that's like, you know what?
Average.
Yeah, that's average, right? In some places, that's actually super old, right? And some places, it's super young, right? If you're like a Mormon, like that's so old, right? If you're
how old are they when they're having kids?
Like 20.
Damn.
Like married, right?
Yeah, I'd have a 10-year-old.
Yeah, like so. I'm a good age when I had Jules, and so no debt, never got into debt, never bought a new car, and RSP a little bit. I put some money in, But it wasn't until had Jules, then started grinding real hard, go to the bank, make a 2-year plan, you know, get my accounting way more tight, everything organized.
Yeah, so you were still all doing that actually from a young age. Like, I'm not organized at all. Luckily, Sean's like really on top of things, like in terms of, you know, he has all the different kinds of savings accounts and stuff. I don't even know the letters with RSPs.
TFSA, RSP, right? You know, you should get like a couple like investing apps and just put like $50 a month into the investing app.
Yeah.
And then you just get to know, and you consume some investing YouTube videos and stuff, and you just see, and it's just in your peripheral, right? And then when you're ready to put 200, and then ready to put 500, and you just kind of keep your eye on it, right? Just $50 a month or 25. I started with just 25 in my RSP, so that's a good thing to do. Like, so I spent $5,000 on an online investing course.
Okay, 5,000.
So when you yeah, $5,000. Pardon?
How long is the course?
It's a bunch of videos, and you're part of an email thing. You're part of the group kind of forever. You get emails. You can meet up. But like, okay, so you see someone doing well. It's like, okay, well, this person did this from a young age, and so you don't want to compare yourself to people that are doing really well, because look at my story. Teenager, tattooing, then had a kid, boom, and I started grinding hard. I have a job where I can actually work crazy hours when it's dark, right? If you work outside, well, you can't be a landscaper when it's dark, right? So I can just work all the time. Plus, I don't need a lot of sleep. I have a lot of energy. I'm super healthy, which gives me more energy, right? I take all my supplements and stuff like that.
How much do you sleep? How many hours a day, night?
No, I do sleep. But sometimes I don't need it. Like, I go when times where I'm just grinding, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, I do single days or double days. So a single day is like an 8-hour normal day. A double day is like a 14, 15, 16-hour day. Like, I literally put 2 days into one day.
All tattooing the whole time? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like two 4 or 5 hour sessions, like in one. There's all the drawing, there's a setup, there's a stencil. Like, I gotta eat, you know, gotta eat a little something, a little protein shake, okay. You know, a couple push-ups,
some sausage rolls, the push-ups,
a couple sausage rolls, right? And so I got that ability.
Okay, so the cold dips, I bet, is probably a big part of being so energized. Or
that's kind of recent. That's just within 3-4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, cold showers are awesome. Always do a cold shower. I never not do a cold shower.
Do you ever turn the heat on, or is it like cold?
Oh, no, so I always get in. I always get in, and it's warm, and I'm just like, you know, I got to shave my head. Right. I got the tiger head. I got to make sure that's kind of, and then so I do hot, normal, and then, you know, a couple minutes of cold, just
end on cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's better to be clean. Like, warm water opens up your pores to actually clean your body. Yeah. I think you need warm water.
Yeah.
But then cold at the end, just blast it.
How'd it happen? Wim Hof?
Yeah, it was, started hearing about it through all my health podcasts and stuff like that. And then at the gym, do you know John?
The black belt?
You heard about him?
Yeah, I've met him a couple times.
Yeah, John and Larry, and then we kind of started doing it there too, a couple times. I started doing it on my own and doing my cold showers, and that's kind of how it started. But since we got this crew, and our group chat's called Frozen Boner Crew, and there's 4 of us, and since we started doing that, it's just amazing. Like, once a week at least.
Have you tattooed that on anybody yet?
No, but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's coming soon. But where would we tattoo it? Where would we tattoo it?
Yeah, like.
But yeah, so like that's been an amazing thing. Just the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And the doing hard things. And you know what? It's actually not that hard. So I was at Save On Foods right before we got here. And I bought all that mushroom coffee and special tea and stuff and a couple things. And this lady was like, "Oh, can I put?" She had 2 Coke things of Coke cans, right? Like, so she had, "Oh, can I put that?" So she went ahead of me just to put it rested on. And then I put my stuff down, and she has a bunch of ice cream and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, thank you so much. Hey, like, what's that?" I'm like, oh, this is just mushroom coffee for your brain, lion's mane. This is other thing for balance and for, like calm your mind and another thing, right?
Cordyceps, those in there? What are those?
Yeah, stuff like that, right? All the health stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, wow, like, that's cool. That's amazing. And she's like, well, okay, I'm not, the stuff that she's buying, she's like, this is not for me. I'm shopping for a senior. So, it's not really healthy. And, but it was kind of like, she was not wanting to be judged. I'm like, there's no judgment, right? Just because, but when you start to be healthy and you start to do these positive things, like, I just made her think about, like, okay, like, I should be healthy. But then I was like, she's like, oh, do you know it's snowing somewhere? I seen some snow on today, right? So what's the date? It's March. What's the date?
Almost March 25th.
Yeah, so it's March 25th here in Canada.
Right.
And, there's snow. We'll have beautiful sunny days, but then it'll snow for a random day at a certain spot. But I was like, yeah, I don't mind the cold because I do these cold dips. So we go in the lake, go in the river. And she's like, oh, wow, like, I heard that's really good for you. And years ago, it'd be like, that would be insane. Like, no one would even hear about that. Now it's really getting popular, all the cold dip tanks and cold plunge. But she was like, oh, yeah, I don't think I could never do that. I'm like, you could actually do that.
Never say
like,
never.
You probably can't just run a marathon right now.
Yeah.
You probably can't deadlift 800 pounds.
Did you say all this to her?
No, but I say this all the time to people.
Right, okay.
Those are my two things, right? Because I had to come here. But yeah, I was like, I didn't.
Otherwise, we were gonna get into it.
If I had time, then I'd be preaching. But these are the two things I always say. Is like you can't deadlift, you can't run a marathon probably, but you can get in cold water for 3 minutes or more. You get in and then you get out. You don't have to be strong. You just have to be mentally strong. Like, our body is designed to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Like, if someone kidnapped you and put you in the water for 3 minutes, you wouldn't die.
Mm-hmm. Straight up. Yeah.
So in that vein, and people always want to know this, like, what is your most painful tattoo? Like, my head tattoo is the most painful. And I tried everything. Listening to Jordan Peterson and motivation, beach sounds and trying to meditate and breathe.
During the tattoo?
Yeah.
Okay, how long did that sucker take?
A couple sessions of like 3 hours. Like, outline wasn't that bad, but then the shading was bad. And anyway, so I'm getting tattooed, and then this is what I had to do. The only thing that I could think of, my last resort, because you can't quit. Like, I need to get this done. It sucks so bad. I don't want to have to come back. So I was like, okay. I got captured by terrorists. They chained me to the bed, and they're torturing me, and I just can't leave. So I chained myself in my mind to the bed.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna hurt. I was like, okay, it's gonna be really painful. I'm not gonna die, and I can't quit.
Yeah. And it's gonna be torture, so you might as well really.
No, I was literally getting tortured by the Taliban.
Oh, jeez.
Right? So people have different ways of dealing with pain. That's what I love about tattooing. Is I love the art and talking to people. It's amazing. But the fact that these people are they save up the money, they come here and they get through the pain. Some people are just so stoic and they're just good with it. Mm-hmm. And some people, you can tell they're having a tough time, but okay, this person has half an hour left. I'm like, this person's done soon. I'm like, hey, and I'll try to give people an out. Don't want to push them too hard, whatever. And sometimes people are like, nah, keep going. And I just respect that. And it'd be like, I thought they had a half hour. Now they went for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, just beast mode.
Sheesh.
And that's one thing I love.
You ever ask people about their mindset during the session if they impress you?
I'm always talking about mindset and stuff like that. We're always talking about cool stuff. Yeah.
Damn. Oh man, I just had a thought. What was it? It was in relationship to the cold dip. Oh, the 8 minutes. 8 minutes today was what we did in the cold dip.
Yeah.
8 minutes in the river, and I was getting ready for it. I went to my mom's house before I came to meet you guys, because whatever, it's just around the corner. And she had my microphone that I didn't end up using, but I was better collect that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about it, so we wanted to look up the word shokum, that one that I sent you, which basically is just a word for cleansing in the river. It's a Squamish word. And so I was reading just from this little article. I was like, well, this is what it says about it. I was like, Mom, it says that for like as long as they've been around, like they've been using this to wash away all the dark energy and like the sadness and stress and anxiety. And like my mom is always talking about how she's, you know, sore and tired and stressed and all these things. I'm like, doesn't that sound great? This would be great. And she's like, it does sound great. I'm so happy for you. Like that mindset of like, I could never do it. But I'm like, you could do it. But
the results sound great.
Yeah.
After sounds great.
Yeah.
During is painful.
But it wasn't even that bad, honestly. So yeah, with that, after, then it was, I looked outside and it's like hailing, kind of slushy, snowing situation. She's like, is it snowing out there? I'm like, I don't know. And she knows that I'm about to go sit in this river for however long. And so then I start thinking like, oh, this is going to be rough. And then we get over there and we just walk in and sit down. And I'm like, this is honestly pretty pleasant. Like you just breathe into your hands are warm. And then you just wait. And then we're outside. There's nature everywhere. The river is rushing when that beautiful little loon couple come down. Yeah, I was like, this is great. Like, let's stay in. But then you get out and your toes hurt a little bit. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
But
so when it's really cold, we, Theo just goes bare toes. He just raw dogs it with his toes out there.
Not today,
and,
right? He's learned.
but me and Kelly, we have like wetsuit booties.
Oh, damn.
Right? Like 3-5 millimeter, and they keep your toes warm. So that's when it's like we cut through the ice. That's when you're walking on snow. That's what, like, we're talking, that really helps. They're kind of tight and annoying to get on and off. Yeah. So I only use them when I actually really need them. But yeah, that's a veteran move right there. Keeping the hands out, blowing in the hands. That's a good move too.
That's a good move.
And in that vein, so, you know, washing away the darkness and washing away this and that. Like, I've been working out, doing jiu-jitsu. I have friends and family and purpose through my career's awesome, and my son and my family. Everything's good. And, you know, cold dip works alongside working out, and it definitely washes away some stuff, like kind of for the day or for a couple days. But what really helped me was when I became like born again. That was what really helped me with everything.
Yeah, what's the story there?
Just because I'm in like if I'm in a cold dip, and I've done a lot of cold dips and a lot of hikes and a lot of getting tatted and getting through things, right? Like, but that didn't like erase all my sins in the past. That didn't like wash me clean. That didn't make me born again. And I've done all the meditation, and went to Jocko Willink, and I've seen Tony Robbins live. I've seen Gary Vee live.
I don't know who Gary Vee is, but
he's a motivational guy, like just one of those business motivational guys, very popular.
I've probably heard clips and just not know the name.
Right, yeah. I've done all these things, and these things kind of work kind of short term, and people like to create their own religions and their own ideas and all their own stuff, but none of that stuff really worked for me until I found Christ.
How'd that happen?
Well,
first, rewind like all the way to childhood. Like, were you brought up in any sort of religious family? Like, were you introduced to God as a child?
Not really. Like, we weren't for or against it, and definitely not religious, and definitely didn't hang out with anyone that was religious. No one in the family is really religious.
Never went to church, like, as a kid?
I think I went once or twice, and I've, a couple funerals and couple, baptisms and stuff, but like nothing like go there and worship and do your thing.
Right. So it wasn't actually taught. You never yeah.
And I never was an atheist. I never thought religion is a cult. I never thought that, of course there's cults out there, but I never thought that I was like, oh yeah, like going to church, I don't know, that seems like a good idea, I guess. Like, I was never against it. And I always was just unsure, like, oh, is there an afterlife? Is there a God? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. So I was never like, never Satanist or anything like that. I just was like, I just was unsure.
Just wasn't really on your radar either as you were just busy grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Davian. Mm-hmm. Theo.
Yeah.
our kids, Jules and David, became friends and met Theo. And Theo does his life coach thing, and so I invited him to do cold dip. So we start doing these cold dips. We start doing the workouts. And then what happened was I've been going through a couple things, and just family stuff and this and that, some more details, and everyone has all their stuff, right? And then it was a beautiful day. We're in the cold dip. We're out Alouette, and I do my workout, and I come. This is on Sunday. Theo did church, and then he came, and we meet up. And Theo goes, I'm like, oh yeah, I got my workout. Theo says, oh, I did my spiritual workout.
Oh,
and I was like,
spiritual workout.
Yeah, that's just what he said. And I was like, oh, this little spidey sense is going off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that. I like that. He's invited me to maybe church once and this men's breakfast thing, and not even really pushed it, right?
Yeah.
And then when he said that, I was like, oh, maybe. Okay, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna go to church. So went to church with him, and I really liked it. It's some things seemed like a little bit odd, but it wasn't odd in a way that pushed me away. It was like, oh wow, what is that? Why am I feeling this way? Okay, why am I crying right now? Why am I? And then I get into it. I'm reading, looking at YouTube. I'm really getting into it. Couple little things happen where it's like, whoa, that a lot of coincidences.
Oh, like what? Get into it. Let's talk about those.
Well, and once you come to God and you come to Christ, you actually don't really believe in coincidence anymore.
Of course, yeah.
Right? The idea.
Coincidences in quotations.
Idea of the sun god and the frog god and the tree god and the rock god and the bumblebee god, all these different gods and things and that, right? What brought us to where we're at today was the idea, okay, there's one divine design, right? Einstein, Tesla was actually going to be a priest. He got so sick, and his dad was like, hey, if you survive this, you can be an engineer and you can pursue that. Boom. Tesla brought us so much stuff because they're looking for that design. What's the design? There's one divine design that we can figure out. One creator of everything. That's where it all started. It didn't start with, okay, there's the grass god and this, you know what I'm saying? So
well, all those different gods or deities or whatever, those are in my opinion, they all kind of like the yin yang or whatever, those all exist within the circle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's they're not actually separate things. They might look like separate things, kind of like all of us, we look like separate beings and stuff, but we're all designed by the same creator. So it's an illusion. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. And so started going to church and really loved it. And then I was like, you know what? I want to keep coming. Testimony. Yeah, okay. This is a good story. Okay. So I'm getting into it. I'm not baptized yet. I gave myself to Christ. I really am washed clean, and I'm forgiven of all my sins. And when you are forgiven, then you start to forgive people, and you start to exist and see and consume the world in a totally different way. Totally different. And so that's how I feel. It's unexplainable. Oh yeah, church is good for community, music is good. And it's I already had, as I've already talked about, all these friends, family, cold dips, jiu-jitsu, everything, my career. I already had purpose, already had friends, already had community, already had all this. Go out all the time, go to a restaurant, talk to people, hey, what up? Already had all that. This is different. Same with all the motivational speaking and all the events. It's I've been doing that. And so here's just one good little testimony of something that happened. Okay, night before, I'm here. I finish work. So I finish work and I read my Bible instead of watching YouTube. Okay, boom, that's awesome. Then go home. I'm short with Quinn and Jules. Not lose my temper, but I'm a little short. And then I'm like, dang, okay, whatever. I go to sleep. I have this dream. I'm in this dream that I'm in a beautiful house, and there's demons trying to get in. And they're not banging on the window. They're shadows coming through the faucet. Plug that up. Okay, coming through the cracks. They're trying to get in sneaky. Very sneaky, very slowly. Oh, that one's seeping in. So I wake up in this dream. It's like a morning dream, right? Fell back asleep, so you remember it. And so like, oh, like maybe this church thing, and maybe God isn't for me, or maybe like it's not working for me, right? So it's like, that's called like, okay, you want to either get closer to God or farther away. Close to God is heaven, far away is hell, right? And so, maybe it's not working. Anyway, this morning, had to get ready quickly.
You thought it wasn't working because of the dream?
I was like, oh, like, nah, I'm snapping on Quinn and Jules. Like,
Right.
maybe it's not like, that just a subtle little thing, right? We're always in a battle. My battle is not against blood and flesh. My battle is a spiritual battle against supernatural things, right? Everything is a battle in your heart and mind. So this morning, gotta drive Jules to school. He's gonna meet up with Davian, and they're gonna walk to school for the first time. Theo lives around a corner from the school, so they're gonna walk a couple blocks, right? Jules is super excited. I don't want to let Jules down. I don't want to let Davian down. Boom, get there on time. Driving down the street, I drive down, and then I see this old guy on the side of the street. This old brown guy, white beard, in front of a farmhouse, and he's like waving this red shirt or something. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Just drive by. More cars are going by. I go to turn left, and I look at my rear view, and I'm like, man, I think this guy is actually trying to wave people down. And I get around the corner, and I'm just like stopped. I'm like, should I U-turn? I need to get Jules to this. So Jules got up and did the recycling. He did everything I needed him to do, right? He's not always that good. And I was like, I don't want to let him down. Don't want to let Davian down. But I'm like, man, I got to turn around. Something's up. And so God was like speaking to me a little bit, and then like I got to turn, U-turn, pull up, talk to this guy. He speaks Punjabi or something. I can't communicate with him. I'm like, you got a wallet, phone, or whatever. He seems just like kind of confused, kind of shaky. I was like, hey, is this your house? Okay, let's go to your house. Walk up the steps. He kind of like having a tough time walking up the steps. I go to knock on the door. He just opens the door.
Is Jules with you?
He's in the car. He's in the car still, and Tulip was there. And so the door opens, and I'm like, hello. I'm just kind of creeped out. I'm like, what is going on here? And I don't want to go in the house. He goes in, he kind of stands, he just looks at me like he needs something. So I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. Hello? No one's coming. I don't know if there's a dead body or what's going on in there. I don't want to step in. What if someone wakes up, tries to kill me? I'm like, am I tripping?
This is a trap.
I'm tripping. You can't just trust anybody, right? Like, so, I call the cops. Cops are going to be here soon, whatever. I don't know if it's 10 minutes or 10 hours or whatever, but okay, I got to go. And I'm pretty sure this guy like might have dementia or something, right? So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? Well, I'm just going to pray for this guy. So I grab his hand. I grab his hand like this, and I go like that. And so I grab his hand, and I put my head like that. And then when I do that, he brings his head right into me. We're ear to ear, and he like comes right into me. And I say a little prayer, and I say, protect this man, like, please. And so I say a nice prayer. I can't even remember what I said, but it was in the moment. It was a good one. And I was just in. I was in the moment. Yeah. Sometimes I'll do a prayer, and I'm like, I messed that up. Like, it's like, well, I'm talking to God. Like, he doesn't care. But anyway, so it was a good one. And in that moment, though, he knew exactly what was going on. He really needed that. And so it was just a really good moment. That was like my first public prayer, right? To just pray for someone who you don't know if they believe or not. That's a weird thing for people. And so, and if that was me on the other end, I'd be like weirded out. I'd be like, okay, well, what's going on? Anyway, so do that. Then I leave. I'm like, peace out, man. Take Jules to school, get him just on time. He didn't get to walk with Davian, right? Because this whole thing took like, 15 minutes. Get back. So drop Jules off, and then I'm like, oh, I need to get back, and I need to, I'm going to go in this time. I'm going to look for a number or something on the phone, on the fridge. I get there, and cops are there already. And I'm like, oh, hey, what up? And they're like, hey, that was a good thing. We've had a call here before. He kind of has rapid onset dementia, and that was good. Like, he was on the side of the road. Like, he could have stumbled in or whatever. He could barely get up the steps, right? So they're like, yeah, it's good. You stopped. And that was, dream, getting farther away from God. That moment, getting closer to God. And I had to physically be obedient and listen and pull the U-turn and go and then do all the stuff, right? And then actually pray. And that actually worked. Okay, story's not over.
Okay.
Get to work. Get to work. Get here. Look at my phone. And so this whole thing happened between like 8:20 and 8:30, right? There's a text that came at 8:28, and my pastor, Dwayne, like that's the guy who preaches. He's kind of the boss of the church, right? Before I didn't even know what a pastor was, right? So my pastor, and we're not buddy at this time, messaging every single day. I'm not even baptized yet. He messaged me at 8:28, and he was like, "Hey, brother, just driving to work, just thinking about you today. Like, have a blessed day. Like, praying for you. Like, have an amazing day."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa!" So he texted me. He was thinking about me right as I was doing that.
Oh, I love that.
And then I said, "Well, I had an amazing morning. Like, this just happened.
Yeah.
Just now. Just give him a quick little thing, just like a little blurb, right?" And then I was like, so a testimony when you go to church is like you have the preacher, you have the music at first, then the preacher, then a prayer, then a this, and then sometimes you have people that say their testimony. So a little story where God is involved in your life, that's a testimony.
Okay.
You do your testimony how you came to God before baptism, and then you have these little stories where anyone can come up, right? Sometimes you're a little nervous, like, oh, what is this person going to say? Like, oh, like John, he usually ran, right? So like, you're like, okay, what's going to happen in this testimony? And so I was like, oh, that was like, I guess that was a testimony. That would be cool. If I was going to do a testimony, that would probably be it. But then whatever. Then I'm like, okay. Then go to men's breakfast. So every second Saturday, there is, all the men do a breakfast. We eat good food. Dwayne does a little word, like he does a little 5-minute little preach. And then he is preaching. This is my first men's breakfast, by the way. And he goes like, something to do with, do you have ears to hear and eyes to see? And he's going, and he's such a good preacher, and he's just the greatest of all time. And he is just doing his thing. And then he goes, and eyes to see. And Alex the other day just told me this quick, this about this. And he kind of points me out and gives me a little shout out. I'm like, oh, well, can I tell it? Can I tell the story? So I got to stand up at my very first men's breakfast and tell my testimony. And then after that, I just did the little story, short version, just to like pull up, U-turn, and then like I'm giving you long version. And so then after that, everyone was coming up to me and like, oh, I really like that, and that was good test, and it just strengthened my relationship like within the people and the men there, because whether you're a believer or not, like how many times have you drove past someone like, I should help that whatever, someone else will. I'm a little nervous. Like how many times have you drove past somebody and you're like, nah, someone else will deal with it. Oh, whatever, I don't have time, whatever, and just drove past, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever, I'm gonna be late.
Yeah.
I had good reason, and no one would have got mad at me for not pulling a U-turn, because no one else stopped. And no one would have got mad at me because I'm a good dad. I'm not letting people down, right? Like, so that's part of the sacrifice. That's part of being obedient. That's like when God calls you to do something. It's for me. It's a little bit like, okay, you try to talk yourself out of it, because the narrow path is the way. Broad is the path to destruction and death. Narrow is the path to the light, right? Go through the narrow door. You don't want to go where everyone else is going. The broad, the big, the wide, the pop culture, whatever's going on, whatever, we're just going down here. Go down that narrow path. That's probably usually the path to go on.
How do you describe like how you identify which direction that narrow path is in?
Well, now I'm a Christian. I speak to God. I pray. I read the Bible. I go to church. So here, okay. And you know what? So I have I still am, it's in my rookie season, right? I'm still new to the faith. And so I still have my thought process of step by step, what's going on to me? What's happening to me, right? And it's kind of like, okay, you're driving in your car and you got your thoughts bouncing in your head. And you're just like, should I call them? No, what are they going to say? Oh, if I do this, or okay, if I do this podcast and I laugh too loud, I'm going to sound stupid. And you just have all these thoughts in your brain, right?
Yeah.
You come to Christ and you talk to God and you take that and you move. Oh crap, sorry.
Wow,
okay.
Embarrassing.
So, and when you come to Christ, you don't get embarrassed.
That's right.
Because that's God's plan. But you take that out and you just boom, you move that over, and then you have this, and then you talk to God, right? So you're not talking to yourself. Ba, 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 ba. You quiet, you pray, and you wait for that voice of God to come kind of speak to you. And you just kind of know, and it doesn't always come, but you just know when it's the right voice and the right thing. And so when you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to the most loving, the most wisest person that ever existed, that created everything, the best, wisest, beyond Gandalf, beyond anybody, like the number one,
beyond
top,
Mufasa.
the top God, like you talk to God, you talk to Jesus, and that's who you're talking to. You're not just talking to yourself and freaking out and this and that. You're really like, okay, center yourself and do that.
And you can tell that is God because it comes in clear, and because it's
it's hard to explain. I don't know how I'm experiencing things is the way other people are experiencing it, right? Like, okay, like, are other people at church, like, in the first, like, are they feeling the same way, or what? Are they crying because their friend died? Are they crying because they're happy? Or why am I crying? Like, you don't. It's just life is crazy, man.
Yeah, I love that you cry and that you admit that you cry. That's great. There's a lot of men who still like cannot or won't admit it.
I don't cry that much though.
Yeah. Yeah, you're feeling.
But you know what? Cool. So I have tears of joy sometimes. Like, I'll be driving to work and I'll just be so, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe I did it. I can't believe this is it. And so I've been handing out blessings lately. I'm just so fortunate. I'm so lucky that I actually feel guilty. Like, why do I have it all? I'm literally the 0.1%. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I am. And that's from hard work, and that's from having a head start too. Like, I wasn't born in the slums of India or Africa or in, born on heroin.
Yeah.
Right? Right? But I'm very lucky.
And the more that you count your blessings, the more they just pour in too. So it's really only going to snowball.
And here's one more testimony.
Here we go.
And so I've been trying to. Okay, I can't say this first one yet because it's still in the works, kind of secret. But St. Patrick's Day, that's a religious holiday. And beautiful day with Jules, go to supermarket, I'm going to buy some coffee. I always drink the in-laws coffee. So I go there and I just clean the shelf. I get all the pods, all the boxes. Jules is carrying some too. He's like, and so we get there, and I'm just like, I'm on the phone with Quinn and I'm like, oh, what type of coffee? And I'm like, you know what? Like, she's like, oh, wow, you're getting, I'm handing out blessings today. And I'm like, I might mess around and do something else even. I'm like, okay, bye. Anyway, go to checkout. And I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll pay for someone's groceries here. And get to the till, I'm like scanning for candidates, and I'm like, okay, maybe this, this, and then and then I remember there's this cute Latin family that I passed on the way in, and then I see them to my peripheral, and it's this short Mexican woman, this 14-year-old kid, and this little girl in a princess dress, and I was like, ooh. They're looking like they're gonna check out. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be it. If I'm gonna do this, that's gonna be it. They start to check out the same time I'm at, but they're like 2-3 lanes down. And I'm like getting a little bit nervous. I'm getting a little bit embarrassed. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've seen this on YouTube, but maybe I don't know how to go about that. Maybe they're gonna be weirded out. What if they don't even need me? Maybe what if they're rich? Maybe it's like I'm just kind of like, you're talking yourself out of it, kind of. Because God is speaking to me and telling me to do this, and it's a little bit different and nervous, right? Because it's the narrow path, and so whatever. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Checking out, buying the coffee. They randomly switch lines. Come right behind me. The Latin family comes right behind me, and I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm like, okay, I gotta do this. So I'm like, hey, what up, bro? Go to the son first. I don't want to freak out like the woman, right? Like this tattoo guy, like, hey. So I just go to the son, I'm like, what up, bro? Like, dap him up and like pound it, give it, the woman. I'm like, what up? And yeah, do you mind if I pay for groceries? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. So pay for groceries. I'm like, yeah, like I just been baptized. I'm just handing out blessings. I feel amazing. And do you guys go to church? I'm like, we're Christian. I'm like, oh cool, that's awesome. Yeah, and you know, and I'm like, I go to MRCC. It's like the best church in Ridge. It's down the road, Maple Ridge Community Church, right? So I'm like, yeah, like, you know, go there, and it was just an amazing experience.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's what it means, right? To be obedient and to hear the word of God.
I have resistance around the word obedient, but I bet I don't know what that's about.
I love being obedient. I love being disciplined.
This is like
right?
the opposite of what was the thing that you had when you were diagnosed with? Somewhat not actually. ODD.
Yeah, and that's what God can do for you. Do you know what it means to be saved?
Not fully. You can tell me.
I didn't either. Right? It means so Jesus died for your sins. They're washed clean, and you can be baptized. You go into the water. You die. You come out. You're born again. You're different, and everything's changed for you. And so that's what it means to be kind of saved. You're saved. My first day at church, I went. And this guy, Jeff, we call him Big and Loud. He's this huge guy. Like a 4XL is tight on him. And so he has this tattoo on his sleeve, and it says Big and Loud. Yeah. Like it's tattooed in graffiti. He has another tattoo on his stomach and a huge thing. But he sits down, he's like, hey, what up? And he kind of knows who I am. And he goes, yeah, man, are you saved? And in my head, I'm like, I'm like, maybe did I have to save a seat online, or like maybe I guess Theo did it for me. Like, I don't know, like, so that's what I thought. I was like, oh no, it's just my first day. Yeah, cool. And there was a lot of chatting, and so I didn't even know what it meant to be saved. How long? And so whatever people are thinking about me and how it's weird and how it's crazy and you're brainwashed, I'm like, yeah, I am. That's the point. Right. Brain washed clean, heart washed clean. That's the point.
Oh, I never heard that before. That's cool.
Oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah, it's pretty good. You want a sip? Yeah, that any other brain busters? Like I'm feeling great. Like, oh, I'm happy for you. I don't need you to be happy for me. Yeah. Like I'm good. Yeah. Like being 10 toes down in your faith is you're supposed to be bullets bouncing off of you, demons bouncing off of you, right? You go into the dirtiest, darkest places and you shine a light in those places. And it's like when I went to this place called, Dark Table? No. What is it? It's a restaurant downtown and it's pitch black.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, you gotta go there. It's crazy. And no one told me this before I went, but like the guy comes out, the waiters are blind. He comes out, he's fully blind, right? We're like, whoa, okay. We get in. And it's I'm with 6 of my family and coat room, and he's like, hey, you make a Congo line and you Congo all the way to the table. And, oh, whatever, it's kind of fun. Oh, wow, it's dark. And then you sit at the table and it's pitch black. Like you can't even see your hand in front of your face. I've never experienced this ever before, right? So all of a sudden I'm 5 years old. I'm afraid of the dark.
Yeah. Oh no.
I'm just tripping. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. Like I like to know where the exits are and see people. Like, can I beat this person up?
What
like,
if there's an emergency?
Like, can I do a single like takedown on this guy? Or what I'm saying? Like, I need to. But I'm tripping a little bit, and I'm like, whoa. Because you close your eyes and you open them, it's just like this exact same, and you're hallucinating a little bit because you're trying to make shapes out of things that don't exist. You're like, okay, my dad's there. Like his head's about this side, and you're just trippy. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, we have to eat here and drink here. I have to be here for like hours. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Do you know what you're eating?
It's like being underwater. In a sec. It's like being underwater and you're like, man, I need to get to the surface here. Like I need air. Like I need light. So you order outside. For your starter is a secret. You order your main and your dessert is like a secret. Okay. You can either pick it or get the secret. So everyone got the secret stuff. And that's part of the experience. Like, oh, I got a blueberry and I got a strawberry, right? That's part of it. And it's just trippy, right? My dad was like eating asparagus and he's like, I'm like, whoa, what? He's like, I just poked myself in the eye with asparagus. Right? It's really like, you can't even, it's that dark.
I shouldn't be serving spears in the dark.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. and so it's pitch black and the door's kind of over there. And then a couple little cracks, I guess, somewhere near the door, and the light was shining on the ceiling, just two little shapes, like the size of your hand, just barely. That was the only light that actually existed there. And then so what I did, I kept looking to those pieces of light just as my little set point. At first, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm tripping. This only lasted for like a minute or two, right? And then I was good. And then I had my eyes closed for a bit. That felt more comfortable. And then you open them. It just takes some. It's such a shock, right? For me. And then you get into it. But I kept looking to those little pieces of light, and it just got me thinking about how valuable the light can be in the darkest of times. Like those two little pieces of light, like, were so valuable and so needed for me as my little set point. And that's what God is.
Yeah. Did you ever feel I don't know, like, did you ever have any sort of opportunity prior to recently where you were like invited to invite Jesus into your heart and like wash away your sins and stuff? Or was it like this is the first time you were just like all in immediately?
Yeah, so I went to church like maybe 4 or 5 times, and then I'm really getting into the Word. I'm looking up a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I'm reading, and I'm looking, and I'm listening, right? And these things are happening in my actual life. Like things are happening, coincidences, which I don't believe in them anymore. So these things are happening, and then I make my decision in my brain, like okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. Like this tastes good, I'm gonna keep eating it. And then I'm like, oh, what are the ingredients? Okay, like there's this, and okay, how much protein is in there? Okay, where is this actually ingredient sourced from, right? You start to like, really, what am I consuming? Just get into it, right? So in my brain, I kind of accept Jesus like in my own weird way, where I don't know how to do it like officially. And then I tell Theo like, I want to do it. Like I want to get baptized. He's like, whoa, okay. Usually it doesn't happen like. I don't know if it's common or not. Like maybe he can tell me, but
yeah,
it just kind of like I did a complete 180. Maybe it is common. I don't know, but I did a complete 180. I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. And Theo was like, oh, okay. It's a big deal and I didn't know it was a big deal. Like my first day, I looked up location and they had a picture of like, oh, this is it. And there was just someone getting baptized. I screenshot it and I sent it to Theo the night before, and I was like, this is gonna be me. Tomorrow or whatever, just kind of joking. Yeah. And he wasn't a joke for him. He's like, no, I would cry. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay, like I guess it is serious. Like I didn't even know really what baptism really was. I was like, is this a little tradition? You do it every year? I didn't really know at all. Yeah. Right. And then okay, maybe I should look this up. And that was just a joke. My first day before church, I was like, okay, I hope this is not boring. So from thinking it's going to be boring to like actually getting baptized, like that's actually crazy. Yeah. And I don't know, I just can't explain it, right? Things are unexplainable, and ask people like, oh, have you ever seen a ghost? That's a good question. Oh, have you ever been to church? Stuff like that. That'll really open up what they think and what, okay, like, did you actually see a ghost or not? Because if you actually saw a ghost, that means if the ghost was real, anything is possible now. Oh, you saw your grandmother sitting on a chair or something in the middle of the night, and you weren't on drugs, you weren't this, and you were like, okay, like, and you saw something that someone else saw at the same time. Like, either you're schizophrenic and both you and your friend are schizophrenic at the same time, or on drugs or smoking crack. Either that's happening, or that was actually a real supernatural experience, and that means anything could be possible now. So you think you're the only person who's ever saw a ghost of all of history, out of the Old Testament, 4,000 years old, New Testament, 2,000 years old? That means anything is possible. That's what that means. Right? Or does it not?
Did you believe in supernatural things, like, always? Have you ever seen a ghost?
I never had, no, I haven't had any, like, only my most recent experience is supernatural, but no, I've never, like, seen a ghost or anything.
What about UFOs?
No, little lights maybe, but like I don't have like any profound like whoa. But people do. Yeah. Like I've talked to some people that do.
Yeah, and once you have an experience like that, and then you're like, anything is possible. it's how do you differentiate between, because there are people out there who take advantage of that belief system and like will say that they've seen things that they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to be that person who walks through life and like believes absolutely everything that everybody says, because then you get taken advantage of. This is
Yeah,
totally
if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Bible is like Bitcoin. Do you know about, like, so Bitcoin is just Bitcoin is the system can't be manipulated. So it's protected in the blockchain. If you're going to steal Bitcoin or mess with the block, like, you have to actually open a million blocks at the same time with the same key, and it's just impossible, right? Like, you have to rob 1,000 banks at the same time with the same person, with the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's secure. And the Bible is like secure, like, because there's thousands of them, so you can't just change one. You'd have to change thousands and thousands of them, right? So, and they always, and so that's why it says watch out for false prophets. Every book, every little thing has really come from the Bible. Everything you need to know is in there. Every little story, every little parable, everything's in there. You can find it. That's why it's just the ultimate.
How do you read it, like start to finish?
So what I've been doing, I've been listening to on audio. I've been reading little sections. Pick a section like Matthew or Mark and listen to that or read that. I look on YouTube, like look at the whole summary. What is the summary of the Bible? 17 minutes. Okay, now I kind of got a timeline. Okay, now what's a summary of Samuel? Okay, what's this? 8 minutes. Watch the summary.
That's efficient.
But just to get the idea, and then you read and you get the detail, right? Like, what's the summary of this? Like, it's like jiu-jitsu, okay? Like, someone just kind of explains and shows a couple things. Okay, here's guard, here's break guard, here's a takedown, here's this. Okay, that's kind of, you want to do this. There's just the summary of jiu-jitsu. There's gi and no gi. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But here's like the general thing. We do gi here. This is what we do. And then you get into the details, and that takes a long time, and getting closer to God, and that it is kind of like a spiritual workout. Like, you actually have to pray. You actually have to read the Bible. You have to actually be obedient when you hear these things. You have to physically bring yourself closer. God gives you free will to do whatever you want. If you choose to take the narrow path, then you're good to go.
Do you ever have any resistance to any of like the, I don't know, they're not rules, are they? What are they, like, are they rules? What do you call them?
Yeah, it's the Word of God. It's the commandments. It's all the rules. That's why you are forgiven of your sins, because we are made like imperfect. Yeah, we're made kind of like in the perfect image of God, but also imperfect, right? And so it's like, if you were born, in World War II, you may be killing Jews, right? So it's like Jordan Peterson has stuff he talks about like that. It's like, you don't think you're that great. Don't think you're you're willing to die instead of like working for in the prisons or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be willing to like be so good, like, I'd rather die than kill these people instead and be a guard and be a prison. Like, don't think that you're that great. You need something else. And so we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, and that is, again, my war is not with flesh and blood. To deny your flesh is to be disciplined and deny. And so that's what it's all about. Is I like being disciplined. Mm-hmm. I like being obedient. God tells you to serve your wife and don't cheat on her and don't even look at any other girls. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Right? He says don't kill anybody. He says honor your mother and father. Jesus came and he spoke out against all the old Jewish rules about kosher this, and you got to sacrifice 10 lambs, and you got to do this and wear the hat and all that stuff. He spoke out against that, right? He was the first person, like the ultimate cancellation, right? He was crucified. And so he, like, even if you're an atheist, Jesus definitely lived, definitely was real. What makes him Son of God is he resurrected, and a lot of people saw it. So you have to respect that. And he spoke out against everything. He was with the prostitutes. He was with the drug addicts. He was with tax collectors and all these people who were just not the best people, right? That's what I mean about 10 toes down in your faith in the darkest spots. Like, that's what Jesus did. Everyone is forgiven, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when
he sees everybody through eyes of love.
Yeah, but love is forgiving. Love is like discipline, right? Like you have kids, you get married, like you're gonna have to follow some rules here. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it is, right? Like, you go into the jiu-jitsu, if you go on the mats, like, there's some rules.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I don't want to wear the belt. Like, I don't want to do this. So, like, okay, well, I just want to, why can't I slam someone? It's like, well, okay, we have to follow the rules. Mm. And there's that one story of that female cop who went to the wrong door. She busted down the door. You hear about this? This is like last year. She breaks down the wrong door. Like, the guy, this guy, black guy, doesn't know what's going on, and she shoots him, kills him, like, kind of by accident. Just like a big, not good situation. And I just saw a video of, like, the court case, and the woman's being sentenced, and the brother of the guy got killed is on. He's like, I just want you to let you know that I forgive you. Damn. And you are forgiven, and I hope you can find Christ, and you're forgiven, and gives her a hug. So that's what the only way to get anywhere is through forgiveness. Modern psychology and this and that, like, you go to therapy, it's like, well, they try to fix this, and this, and then we can have forgiveness after. Biblical teaching is forgive first, and then this.
You see that in, like, the program too, like in AA and stuff, like forgiveness. I don't know what actual step it is, but first it's like acknowledging the higher power. Discover your relationship with God, and then in order to heal and recover, forgiveness is essential. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and there's a lot of, like, recovery churches. Like, there's, like, the preachers recovery. Everyone in there is, like, related or part of recovery. Like, that's a separate even part of church. Do you ever have any like crossover epiphanies or realizations or lessons like in jiu-jitsu, that maybe you, like, read something in the Bible and it puts together some pieces in jiu-jitsu, or you do something in jiu-jitsu and it puts together something, like, you, like, understand something deeper from the Bible, or, like, in terms of your relationship with God and stuff?
So the first time when I had the kid, like, your whole brain and everything, you start to live more intentionally. Then you get baptized, born again, and you're in this thing, and then you experience the world, and then you live even more intentionally, like, differently again. And so everything, everything, like, this is how I exist now. Everything relates to everything else. Yeah, like, this is how, like, cool. You've had a cool progression in your life, like, it's just, like, constantly expanding, and just seems like it keeps getting better for you, which is nice. Seems like the way that it should be going, in general, for people. Yeah, and it's not like this, like, it's like this. Yeah. Like, that's how it is. It's not just like. I always like to imagine it as, like, a spiral, but even then it's not, because you cycle back into, like, old lessons a lot of the time from a new perspective, or maybe you experience something and then you grow from it and you think, oh, that stage of my life is over, but then you might come back and have this other experience where you're learning a similar lesson, but now you understand it even better. Or, you suffer once and you think, whoa, all right, glad that's over with. Time to live life. And then, no, you just keep suffering. And then if you're not suffering, you make yourself suffer on purpose. 100%.
Right, to grow, which is cool. That's
like, I put on my music here, and I went on my hands and knees, and when I was doing my prayers, and just, like, I don't know, I've tried meditating before. It's, like, not the same. But I'm praying, and I'm on my hands and knees. My knees are getting sore. I don't know. It might have been 20 minutes. I don't even know. And so on my knees, my feet are going numb.
What's your position? You got hands where?
I think I kind of just had my, like, this.
Oh, on the floor?
Yeah, something like that. I think I was just resting on my fist or something. But yeah, like, I had an itch, and I was, like, very tempted to itch it, and I was like, okay, like, that's temptation. Resist it. I actually don't need to itch it. And then my position is getting a little sore, and my feet are going numb, and then I just heard the word come, like, suffer. I'm like, okay, just remember to suffer. And I think Jesus says something like, suffer with cheer. And I don't know everything that's in the Bible. Like I said, my rookie season.
Yeah, you're white belt.
And I'm a white belt. No, I got like a couple stripes.
Yeah.
Like maybe one stripe. And so that was just, it's good to hear, because it's just that's God's word. Like that's just that blankets over everything. And so I love it. Like you know you're really about it when you're by yourself doing stuff. You're not doing it to show anybody. I'm not doing it for a podcast, right? Like, I'm actually out here doing it.
Have you had any like friends or people close to you that just don't get it and are like,
Yeah, like I don't think no one gets it. Like, you can't get it if you're not in it.
Yeah, true.
But that's cool. Like, I don't need anyone to get it or to be happy or anything.
Yeah,
like I'm good.
Is Quinn Christian?
No, she's not. She's not really about it, but that's okay. Like, that's kind of the resistance, the enemy, the darkness, I am very different. I'm way better, and she loves that. But she's like, oh, why do you need God for this? Why do you have to go to church for that? Like, why can't you just be like this without it? Right? It's kind of like, it's like that, right? So she battles against it, but there's really no downside.
Yeah, it's not affecting your relationship in any
It's just like, okay, like if you're speaking to atheists or something, like if you were going to invest in something, what would be, okay, here's the risk, here's all the stuff, like here's the upside, here's the downside. It's kind of like, okay, where's the downside?
Right, you can't find one.
Where is it? Oh, well, church makes you give them all your money, or they're going to make you do things because, whatever, control. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm doing well.
Or people are going to judge me, see me differently. That's always my fear. That's probably the biggest hurdle to get over. And like once you actually get to where you're at, that doesn't bother you anymore. People's perceptions of you. You know what I mean? That's the whole trap.
Yeah, you look at people like, and you just feel sad for them.
If they're being judgmental, or
I'm just like, well, I'm just so glad I'm me. It's like, well, because I'm good. Like, so just, it sucks for you. I hope you can figure it out.
And you just love them and pray for them.
Yeah.
Forgive them for whatever.
Yeah.
They're feeling towards you.
Yeah.
What about your family, like your parents?
What about them?
What do they think of it? Do they go to church?
I think they're like, yo, they're happy for me. Yeah, like it's kind of like, oh, well, it works for you. Cool. Like, it's like, oh, people think of it as if like, oh, you found jiu-jitsu. That's cool. Oh, you found religion. Yeah. That's cool. Oh, that's good. That's cute. Yeah. I think people think it's cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's cool. It's like, because I used to think the same stuff. So there's nothing that someone's going to think that is going to affect me, right? Because I was there beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever. It's like Eminem, 8 Mile, when he does his final battle. He goes, yeah, I am a bum. I do live in a trailer park with my mom. Tell these people something they don't know about me, right?
Cool. Man. Did you see Theo's note, by the way? Because we're at like an hour and 15 minutes, so what do you got something to do at 12:30?
I got nothing to do. I got my buddy's 40th birthday party. Shout out to Kelly. Happy 40th. It's a surprise.
Happy birthday.
We don't know if he's going to like it or not. He's kind of he's kind of just not wanting to do anything this year. He wants to do next year as a big party and just repeat 40. But yeah, we're going to surprise him anyway. So
you're going to throw a bucket of ice at him or something? You're like,
I'm going to tackle him. Nice. So yeah, we'll see.
That'd be cool. I'm also just curious a little, like why you, what jiu-jitsu does for you. I'm always curious about like what people's thing is with jiu-jitsu. How'd you get into it? Because obviously your brother was into MMA or into stuff like before you, and you joined later.
Well, I was more like I said, like a rowdy kid, right?
Yeah. Did you get into fights also? Like.
Yeah, I've gotten into a bunch of fights. Like I got the gold because I got my tooth knocked out and stuff.
Oh, I know that my hip.
And I wasn't like a crazy guy like beating people up and stuff like that, but yeah, just little scraps here and there, just normal stuff.
Yeah.
And then I played soccer, but then I was a little too rough for soccer and started playing football. And I just loved football. I just loved smashing into people. And yeah, I was like smaller. I've always been kind of a smaller guy, but like just love running full speed. So when you first start playing football, you're like, whoa, the pads are crazy. This is crazy. And then you're like, like you try to not get hit so hard, but you eventually like something clicks, and then you're like, oh, okay, if I just smash into people as hard as I can and whatever, I just see stars a little bit, not a big deal, and then just love doing that. But then so this is when I was 7. This is all within the graffiti thing and after, like I actually, my knee injury, right? I got hit the summer going into grade 12. My whole knee went, right? So that was another thing.
Outside?
Yeah, my whole knee went like this, like.
Wow, that's disgusting.
Yeah. I was playing free safety. I caught an interception, and then I kind of slide down like this. I catch it, and then I just get is the Mission Niners, and I just get hit in the knee.
Ooh.
It just felt really weird.
Yeah.
At first, I thought I might get back on the field. Adrenaline, and then just started to throb. It just felt like a little gnome was in my knee, hitting it with a hammer.
A gnome. And for those who are just listening to him, what an image. The impact came from the outside of the knee and pushed it inward. So your foot like stuck.
Yeah, so just think about your knee moving normally, front to back. It did that movement to the side at the knee joint.
That makes me want to vomit.
That was the sound of me.
Yikes. Okay, so then did you stop the game, or did you play the game because your adrenaline like didn't let you
know?
No,
I couldn't. Like it just started, like it was destroyed.
Lost all stability. Did you snap a tendon?
My whole MCL, ACL, PCL,
all of it.
My whole leg was bruised. I was in a knee brace for a while. When I was at Westview, I had to crutch to school a couple times.
Damn.
But yeah, that was a good arm workout. But like just stuff like that, right? Like just had to deal with that too. That's like a whole another thing. And then when I had my kid, that's when my knee would pop out sometimes, and I couldn't walk on it for a couple of days. So like once I had Jules, then I got to get my knee super strong. Now my legs are super strong, my knees better. It will pop out a little bit, but like it's no pain. Yeah. Before it would be like pain, I couldn't walk. Now it's just like, ooh, it's locked. I'll get the person to grab my ankle and pop it back in. I'm good. But I really had to get it fixed.
Damn, shout out to Jules for being a little blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so knee, and then how do we get to jiu-jitsu?
Well, Larry started doing it,
yeah.
And then I joined, and then I got injured again, and then came back, and then had a kid.
Okay. So you originally joined a long time ago.
Yeah, I was only there for like maybe 6 months or something,
okay,
but like, like John and Ollie and Brendan and the old Carlson Gracie and Larry and stuff, and like, white belts, and then just putting my time into this and to the family and stuff like that, right? Like some people put all their time into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And
then they're like, okay, career, family, okay, got to do that. I kind of was reversed. I was like putting everything into that, and then okay, now I'm back at jiu-jitsu, right? And so, I got back. It was like a year before the pandemic, and feeling good, and then boom, pandemic.
Yes, yeah.
And then now I'm back from the pandemic, and I'm just feeling amazing. Jules is doing jiu-jitsu. Theo's doing jiu-jitsu. His kid.
Yeah.
And I help teach the kids sometimes. I've done a tournament. Jules has done 2 tournaments. We're going to sign him up for the other one. Right now I'm working a lot. I'm not training enough because I'm getting ready for the recession. But I'm loving it. Jiu-jitsu. Okay, so I always run, workout, bodybuilding, lifting, all types of different. Just do 100 push-ups. Like I'll work out while camping. Yeah. People ask me like, oh, like this and that, like calories and systems. And I just tell them this. I work out while camping.
Yeah.
So that means I work out while camping, work out in Mexico, like, my own 30th birthday party. Okay, everyone's there. I went to this huge house in Chilliwack. Yeah. I brought my kettlebell, I brought my bands, and I'm up the next day, like, working out. Mm-hmm. After my own 30th. That was cool about your sturdy 30.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, you must have like that.
Yeah, so I did the same thing, but just no one else was involved.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a secret, right? And
Yeah.
then jiu-jitsu is just something else, right? Jiu-jitsu is, I don't even look at jiu-jitsu as fitness. I look at it as jiu-jitsu, as a martial art, as something else. Strength and conditioning is not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Is jiu-jitsu more for like your mind, your spirit, your emotions?
I just love it. I do my music. I do other stuff. I just love the thought process, the chess match of figuring out jiu-jitsu. I like that you don't get hit in the head.
Yeah.
You really, when you have a kid, you really start to worry about longevity and health. Like I was talking to Sean, right? Like you really start to think about health more instead of just like health as far as looking good and chest and arms every day. So
Just being jacked.
exactly,
Like, yeah.
right? And then I just love it so much.
Nice. Cool. Okay, where are you feeling? You want to like keep going? You want to slowly wrap it up? I don't know where you're at.
I think I've gone over my whole life, all
Yeah.
my stories,
Uh-huh.
to really represent who I am and like
Yeah.
where I've been. Yeah, I think you guys get the point. Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I said all I can say.
Oh, what?
Like whoever watches this is gonna know me really well
They
now.
were like, yeah, I know that guy. Okay. One thing that I do want to know, I don't know, like, I guess what your perspective is on art. Like, what do you think, okay, where do you think inspiration comes from or creativity? Do you think that's God talking through you, wanting to be expressed?
Well, there's a lot of people that talk about this of where like they don't know where it comes from.
Yeah,
right?
people call it the muse, you know, it's like you basically become a channel, you're receiving this kind of thing.
Nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
But I like what I think now, like it comes from God. It's God given, right? Like comes from the Creator. Wants you to be creative, right? We have dominion over all the earth. We have dominion over it. We're not a parasite on the earth. We're actually here. We can feed everybody. We can do well. We can cure. People can be saved. People are good. There's nothing wrong with the person. They're possessed. Something's wrong with them. Like something's wrong with their brain. They're possessed by a demon. They're like something's going on with them, and so that's the vibe of it. It's not that we need to depopulate or that like no, we can figure it out.
Yeah. Do you think kind of a large part of the solution would be for more people to express their creativity?
Not everyone's super creative. Some people are engineers and they're just like numbers, math, right? But you need everybody involved, right? You need the creative director and you need like conservative people who are very organized to get stuff done. Me, I'm kind of both. I know myself and I know where my strengths lie, so I know that I have to strengthen this, and I know that I'm already good at that. I need to do nothing about that because I know I know my gifts. And then I'm not successful because I wish I could draw. It's like, no, like that's not why. It's just how things that have nothing to do with art have made me successful, right? Just showing up on time, right? There's construction guys who, normal guys, but they just show up. They just have integrity. They make sure they call the person back. They make sure they don't lose their temper, right? And they treat people like, to be successful is not just you're good at singing or wow you're so good at jiu-jitsu. Like there's so many other things that have nothing to do with the thing, with just your integrity and your mind and how you actually are existing in the very moment that's important.
Yeah.
You got to keep showing up though. Like you got to keep showing up to do your art, to do your writing, to do your thing.
Do your workout.
Like anything, yeah. You got to keep showing up. One of my songs is like, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you want it, you really got to show up. What are you going to do when you feel pain? You got to push through. You got to push past. It's kind of like part of the song. And that's it.
Yeah. It really is simple overall because there's like certain things that you kind of, need to do in order to be in a healthy body, healthy mind, like drink enough water, eat healthy foods, get exercise, pray, meditate, like it's pretty simple steps and then we just neglect them.
Well, things are very difficult, but very simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
it's simple, it's not easy.
That's why the war is against not your flesh and blood. It's again, it's a spiritual warfare of your heart and mind.
You have confidence that we're do you think, like, as a collective, that, like, people are, and do you think in our lifetime more people are going to not even overcome, because if it's like a spiritual warfare, the solution isn't to win the battle, it's almost to, like, seize the battle, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, what's your question?
Like, okay, so the war isn't against flesh and blood. You keep saying that, right? Like, it's a spiritual warfare. And so for you, when you were reborn, you were saved. It wasn't like you won a battle, a spiritual battle.
But it was still that warfare before I was saved. Like, it was still the same battle. It's still the same battle. And I would just say,
is it still
before
ongoing?
I would say, everyone, you're always battling not wanting to do the cold dip, not wanting to show up to jiu-jitsu. Oh, my knee's a little sore, maybe I won't go. This person would never message me back. This person would never do a podcast with me. Oh, I could that's too much money to invest in that thing. It's always, so people have demons, like they want to smoke crack.
Yeah.
And people have demons where they want to eat donuts, and people have little, like, when you're fighting your demons, like, everyone has different type of demons.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like you want to do heroin. It can, but it can mean like you just not want to go to jiu-jitsu that day.
Yeah.
That's still valid.
Right. So the demons never go away. You just learn to, like, be like,
If
oh,
the
okay.
demons just went away, then you wouldn't need God or anything.
True. Right. Of course. Okay. So you keep showing up.
We
and
would
keep doing
just
the
be
thing.
Adam and Eve all in the garden, and everything would be perfect, right? Like,
Right.
that's kind of the idea. And you eat the forbidden fruit, and then everything's changed from there on, and now we're in this battle
Right.
forever.
Right.
That's the idea.
Or the demons go away when you die, and then, like, okay, you're in heaven now.
That, yeah,
right?
there's that.
As long as
Yeah,
you're
so
here in
we're
a physical
We're
body.
just here for a short time.
Right. And the demons are a part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And with the demons, and with the procrastination, and with, like, the doubt and all these things, you just show up and do the things that you know that you need to do.
Yeah. Like, motivation it's like, oh, whatever, like, when I don't sleep, or I just got, what, like, when Quinn was like, oh, is the hour affecting you? It's like, no. It's I just do what needs to be done. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like, 10% of the time I don't. But if you're rocking at 90%, you're doing pretty good, or 80%, right? Let's say you drink every day. Well, if you cut that down to, like, 2 days a week, okay, you're doing way better.
Yeah.
Cut it down to 1. Like, if you smoke 20 cigarettes a day and then you just change it to 2, like, wow, don't focus on the 2 cigarettes that you smoke. You're not smoking. You're denying 18 cigarettes. You just won 18 battles.
Right. Yeah, in jiu-jitsu, if you get submitted 10 times in one class, but you hit a sweep, congratulations, you hit a sweep. That doesn't always happen.
Exactly, and
Okay.
figure out how and why you hit that sweep, and keep working on it.
Yeah.
To be intentional in life, like, and Sean talks about this, being intentional when you're actually training. Like, oh, I'm working on this right now. I'm just trying to get to the top, and I'm just trying to get an armbar from the top. Like, that's all I'm trying to do over and over and over. And he said before, like, when I started doing that, that's when I started to improve my game, is to be intentional. Not just show up, roll, show up, drill, shot, this, that, right? I'm doing privates with Ollie, so now I have, like, a system. Now I have, like, I'm chaining things together, right? I have 3 moves in my head before I'm even going to do them. Not like, not on people like you who are good, and not on people, like, sometimes I'm just trying to survive, of course, but then sometimes I can kind of do it where I'm just elevated above this person a little bit more, or just in that zone. Maybe someone's a little bit tired. Maybe they're just playing a different game.
Yeah.
But I can start to chain things because I'm kind of like doing my game.
Yeah.
Because I'm intentional with how I'm doing it.
And you have a plan.
Yeah, like a plan.
Nice.
But again, with the demons, some days I'm like, oh, today was just like, I was just going crazy. Like, today I was not focused. I was just going through the motions. Today I might have been lazy, or today I was just, I wasn't chaining things.
Yeah.
I knew what I should have done there, and I just didn't. Right?
And so when you're having that kind of, like, back and forth battle with the demons in your head, that's a good time to, like, stop, be quiet, and like allow yourself to receive some input.
Yeah, just pray.
Yeah, just pray.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. This has been really insightful for me, so thank you. I'm excited. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So let's say I'm gonna wrap it up with 2 things. So Tim Ferriss, do you know who Tim Ferriss is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so on his podcast, I really like how he ends it. He asks people if they could put anything on a billboard for people to drive by and see. One message that you would like people to know. What might it be?
God loves you.
There we go. That's a good one. And then since you do jiu-jitsu with me, another one that I like to ask is, in as few words as possible, describe what it's like to roll me, how it feels.
You're very strong for a woman, and you know what you're better than me, so like you know what you're doing. Yeah. What does it feel like?
Yeah, how do you describe it? Described?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, bow and arrow, when you're bow and arrow choking me, it doesn't feel nice. Okay, so yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, you're amazing, and you're very good. Everybody loves you when you're teaching the kids. You're a very good teacher.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that you have, and that's amazing. So yeah.
Teaching the kids actually has been like a huge blessing for me, because I, for like as long as jiu-jitsu, honestly, altogether, because I've been like a pretty like self-conscious person and don't like people watching me do something, and that's been like a big fear of mine. But then when I'm teaching the kids, I am so paying zero attention to you parents. Like I'm fully I would think when I first started teaching, I was like, oh, like these parents are gonna be watching me, like I'm gonna be nervous. And I literally like was like, hey, I barely talk to you guys, and I'm just like with the kids the whole time. And then at the end, sometimes you guys are like, that was a good class. I'm like, really? Okay, well, thank you. So yeah, so they
And
totally really get me, they bring me, I'm so present when I'm doing that class, which is actually quite a gift. So
yeah, and then when you have your own kids, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be a journey. You and Sean, it's going to be great.
it's gonna be fun. Yeah, and then the kids can teach them jiu-jitsu.
And like when you're worried, yeah, and when you're worried about other people watching you, like the concept is like only God is watching you. Like here's the rules, here's the word, here's how I live my life, and I'm only like, it's God first, and so God is watching you, and so when you're obedient to God and you're not obedient to the world, that's like society, then for me it's kind of like that's a good way to live.
Cool. Yeah.
Because you don't care what these people think, you don't care what they're thinking, like whatever they're thinking about you might not even be about you. You know, someone flips you the bird and fingers you in traffic or something, it's like that has something to do with you. Right? They got their own battles and their own demons, and you really hope they can fix it up. So whatever they're projecting onto you and thinking about you, whatever they're saying to you based on their own insecurities or whatever's going on, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, like that sucks for you, but you know, that's what I'm worried about.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Alex Rousey, for the love of life.
Yeah.
All right.